This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for August 12th, 2026. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the podcast. Happy hump day to everyone out there. And man, what a frustrating game. I mean, first of all, it's crazy as it's going to sound. The 640 starts versus 740 starts, noticeable difference, 100% noticeable difference. I was dozing off during this game, and I know it's only an hour, but man, anyway. But what a frustrating loss. Christopher Sanchez was outstanding. I don't know if I was Mattingly. I may have kept him in there for another inning, but it didn't matter. I mean, the bullpen was okay. Each of the relievers gave up a run, but you go 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position, hit into 4 double plays, you're not going to win very many games. So just overall frustrating, and they're going to screw around and not make the playoffs. They're now in a 3-way tie for the second and third wild card spots, and just a couple weeks ago, they were 2 games out of the division. So I don't know. And the team is leaking oil badly, very, very badly. And it's a shame because the starting pitching has been good. The starting pitching has been good. 1 through 5 over the past week or two have been good, including Nola, including Painter. And they're just not getting it together offensively. Like, I don't know if you need to shake up the lineup. And I just don't know. And I mean, this is what happens to this team. We've seen it, and we're kind of going into one of those funks right now. And the timing of going into one of those funks is not good. So they're back at it this afternoon. Zach Wheeler on the mound, which usually would be a good thing, but they have not pitched or played well in Zach's starts recently. So can they score some runs? Let's hope. I don't know, but 235, I think, or 245 today. They can still salvage this series if they win a game. Gotta score runs, though. Man. From one disappointing team to hopefully a team that's going to finally end some disappointment. Sixers, NBA schedule, part of the NBA schedule was announced yesterday. Sixers are on opening night, 7 p.m. up in New York to take on the Knicks. I love it. On the day they put the banner up, hopefully the Sixers can exert their dominance and say, enjoy it. It's going to be another 53 years. And then they're back at it Thursday for the home opener against the Cavs. Little LeBron versus one of his former teams. And then this game I really like. It's going to be a fun 2 days for Christmas. And I slowly have started to broach the subject with my wife because we usually go to my in-laws on Christmas Eve. But we got Eagles, 8 o'clock. Got to make sure we're home in time for Santa and getting the kids to bed and doing our traditions there. But we'll be watching the Eagles game. And then Christmas Day, 5 p.m., Sixers-Lakers. I absolutely love it. I love the time of this because for us, we usually do, like Christmas Eve is the big dinner. So we usually do, I do a spiral ham and kind of have sort of an open house. Whoever wants to come over, hang out for a little bit is more than welcome. Start drinking with some eggnog and some Bloody Marys. It's going to be a good day. So by 5 o'clock is when everybody starts kind of heading home. And just sit on the couch, put my feet up, and watch the Sixers and Lakers. I love it, though. Absolutely love it. Pumped. There's going to be a ton of national games But I like opening up against the Knicks, and I like the time slot for Christmas. I figured we would play on Christmas, but I love that time slot. I want to give a shout out and congratulations to Ross Tucker, local guy. You know him from, he does the Eagles pregame broadcast with Scott Graham. But he moved up now that Tony Romo is on leave. They moved up J.J. Watt, so Ross Tucker is taking over the number 2 spot with Ian Eagle. And I love it. I think Tucker is really, really good. He's one of the few things that makes some of these preseason games recently, with not a lot of the starters playing, watchable. He does spots on WIP. Love the Tucker Report. Follow him on Twitter. He's a good follower. And I tend to listen to a lot of games, especially with the kids' sports, Monday night games, especially on Westwood One Radio. And he's one of the guys that does it there. Him and Ian Eagle, actually. I love the two of them together. So that's a good pair for CBS. Too bad the Eagles play on Fox. But congrats to Ross Tucker. Looking forward to hearing you and Scott Graham on Saturday for the preseason. All right, sticking with an Eagles theme. What If Wednesday, brought to you by Lotwin. Go to lotwin.com for your 3D custom hype chains. Look, kids, my kids' practices start next week. We got fall ball, rec soccer, travel soccer. These things are great for travel teams. Specifically, think of it as a home run chain for baseball. And we were brainstorming the other day. If you're a teacher, and as an educator myself, this is an awesome idea. If you do like student of the week, student of the month, whatever you do from a PBIS lens, these things are awesome. Get your school logo put on it, or design a logo in your classroom, and have the kid wear the student of the week or student of the month, wear the chain around for the day. Kids are going to love it. It's going to help with engagement. So go to lotwin.com. Use the promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off your order. Get your 3D custom hype chains. Of course, fantasy football winner and loser chains. So many different ways you can go with this. So go to Lotwin and pick out your 3D custom hype chain. All right. So one thing that is always talked about, and I've heard it starting to creep up again now, that not as much because AJ was here, but going back to the 2020 draft. And I feel as though the 2020 draft was a truly pivotal moment for the Eagles, and specifically Howie Roseman. They drafted Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson to the point where the Vikings front office was laughing at the Eagles. And then they picked Jalen Hurts in the second round, right after they had given Carson Wentz the big extension. So that draft had a major impact on this team, and it's a huge butterfly effect. But I mean, both of those, Hurts and Reagor, we talk all the time about they shouldn't have done this, or what if they'd have done this. So let's talk about it and look at the butterfly effect of this. So Justin Jefferson, if you draft him, obviously there's no A.J. Brown. So there's none of the drama. There's none of whatever happened in 22. There's not the Super Bowl year. You have Justin Jefferson in that place, which many people will say Justin Jefferson is a better, more talented receiver than A.J. Brown. You're not going to get an argument out of me. However, as you go further down the butterfly effect, Devontae Smith likely does not get drafted. One of the reasons Devontae was drafted was the fact that Reagor was a bust. And how he realized that, and realized he had to make a change there. So maybe Devontae goes to the Jets, and what does that do to the Jets? And we've seen what Daniel Jones can do in a competent system with some weapons. Maybe the Giants are a better team during this stretch. And then does Jefferson save Wentz's career in Philly? You have to wonder if Reagor would have been who we thought he would have been, or what we expected him to be. Maybe Carson has more success in that 2022 season. And in that case, what happens to Doug Peterson? Part of the reason Doug Peterson got fired was because he was in love with Jalen Hurts and wanted to give him a chance, and was tired of Carson's antics. Maybe Carson doesn't have antics. Maybe Dougie can convince him to run the offense the way it was. And then what does that mean for Hurts? Do they even draft him? Do they need to draft him because they got Jefferson? Maybe they bolster the defense. Maybe you kind of retool and make another run with Carson. And what does it mean for Howie Roseman? I think the drafting of Jalen Reagor made Howie Roseman self-correct and kind of reevaluate his draft strategy. Yeah, we know what happened when he was thrown in the closet under Chip Kelly, but I think that was the first time we really saw Howie essentially admit a mistake. He went out, got Devontae in 21, and then went out and got AJ draft day in 22. But the drafting of Reagor then led to Doug choosing Jalen over Wentz, even though it meant he was going to lose his job. And then it gave us Nick, gave us Devontae, AJ. But does any of that go down if they draft Justin Jefferson? I don't know. Do they win Super Bowl 59 with Justin Jefferson? Because you got to figure they wouldn't have Devontae. They maybe don't go out and get Saquon. Maybe Howie doesn't have that self-reflective aha moment. And maybe he's not even here. I think it was fair to say that Howie was borderline being on the hot seat during this draft. Sometimes the wrong move is the right choice. But that leads us into the triumphant return of the question of the day. Now that our basketball tournament is over, getting it ready to go in the football season, the question of the day is back. Do the Eagles win Super Bowl 59 had they drafted Justin Jefferson instead of Jalen Reagor? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531 and give me your thoughts on this, because I think sometimes it's a simple what if this or that. But this one, there's so many different layers to that draft because the Eagles went with Jalen Reagor. So let me know your thoughts. Do they win Super Bowl 59 if they drafted Justin Jefferson instead of Jalen Reagor? Kind of just leads you down like a choose your own adventure book, because things would be a lot different if they didn't. And again, sometimes the wrong move is the right choice. But let me know. Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. The question of the day is back, baby. All right, some quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms at Philly Jimbo. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, also at Philly Jimbo. You can answer the question of the day there, as well as on the Discord channel, which is the link in the description. Kyle and I will be back with another episode of the Brotherly Birds Breakdown tomorrow. So continue to spread the word and grow this thing. But the question of the day: do the Eagles win Super Bowl 59 if they drafted Justin Jefferson? And don't forget, there's still time left in the summer to go down to the Jersey Shore. Go to beachcaddy.app if you're in Stone Harbor, Wildwood, Ocean City, Sea Isle, or Avalon. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your move-in, move-out, as well as your beach cart rentals. And, of course, get your 3D custom hype chains from Lotwin, lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD to take 10% off. And they are our sponsor today for What If Wednesday.
Reppin' Philly ain't a choice. It's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one-stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds.
All right, August 12th. And first, we're going to go back to 1987. Phillies Cubs at the Vet. Juan Samuel had himself a day. This game was back and forth, tied at 7, going into the bottom of the 8th, when Juan Samuel helped spark a 6-run inning with a grand slam. Phils win it 13-7. For Samuel, that was home run number 22 on the season, breaking Granny Habner's single-season record for second baseman for the franchise record. Samuel wasn't done, though. Also hit a triple, which was his 10th of the year, and stole a base, had 5 RBI, became the first player in Major League Baseball history to reach double digits in doubles, triples, homers, and stolen bases in his first 4 seasons. And I'd like to officially apologize. If you remember, whether it was last year or 2 years ago, I went on this huge rant about how the Wall of Fame is getting watered down because of guys like Juan Samuel. I caught Juan more near the end of his tenure with the Phillies. Dude was pretty good. I take it back. I walk it back a little bit. I'm willing to admit one of the things we talk about on Tuesday Motivation is admitting when you're wrong and taking ownership. I will take ownership. I may have been just a little bit frustrated, and I took it out on Juan Samuel. So, Juan, I apologize. You are definitely deserving to be in the Wall of Fame. But Juan Samuel had himself a day on this day. Phillies beat the Cubs 13-7. He had a grand slam, a triple, and stole a base, reaching double digits in doubles, triples, homers, and stolen bases in each of his first 4 seasons. First major league player to ever do that. Juan, forgive me. But that does lead us into today's trivia question. Let's have some fun with this. Who are the Phillies' single-season home run leaders for each of the infield positions and catchers? So in other words, who is the single-season record at first base, second base, shortstop, third base, and catcher? I was going to do outfield, but it just gets very convoluted with all of the different positions. And then you throw like a Kyle Schwarber in there who DH'd and played outfield. So we'll do just the infield and catcher. But with each of those positions, who is the Phillies' single-season home run leader in each of them? All right, and then fast forward to 1991. Dale Murphy and Lenny Dykstra both knocked in runs as Terry Mulholland and Dennis Martinez, El Presidente, both pitched complete games. This was a pitcher's duel at the Vet, but the Phillies beat the Expos 2-1 for their 13th straight win, tying a modern team record for consecutive wins. It would end the next day out in Pittsburgh. Phillies would lose 2 straights before salvaging the third game against the Pirates. But that all happened on this day in 1991. Phillies extend that winning streak we've been talking about to 13 games. Next, we're going to go to 2006. Phillies lose to the Reds 9-7. Jimmy Rollins hit 2 home runs, had 4 RBI homers from both sides of the plate, becoming the 3rd player in Phillies team history to do that, joining Steve Jeltz and Tomas Perez. But the Phillies, it was not enough as they lose 9-7 to the Reds. And then 3 years later, it was the Phillies-Cubs again, this time out in Wrigley. Pedro Martinez made his Phillies debut, went 5 innings, gave up 3 runs, struck out 5. J-Roll and Raul Ibanez both had 3-run homers. Shane Victorino added a 2-run shot in the 3rd. And then in the 5th, he was greeted as he was trying to catch a fly ball by a Chicago fan, pouring a beer on his head. Still made the catch. But he did file charges. The guy was found guilty of, I forget what it was, but criminal mischief or something or whatever. He paid a fine and probably was banned from Wrigley Field forever. But the Phillies pound the Cubs 12-5. Jimmy Rollins, Raul Ibanez with 3-run homers, Shane Victorino with a 2-run shot, and then got a beer poured on his head. And who knew that Philly fans, in disguise, as Cub fans, would be at Wrigley Field? That stuff only happens in Philly, right? Anyway, 1 year later, Phillies found themselves down 9-2 going into the bottom of the 8th at Citizens Bank Park versus the Dodgers. They score 4 in the 8th, then 4 in the 9th off of Jonathan Broxton. They owned him during that time frame. Going back even into the postseason, they walk it off with a 10-9 win. Jason Worth, Ben Francisco, and Chooch all led the way for the Phillies that day. I was trying to combine Francisco and Chooch together. But the Phillies come back 9-2 at the bottom of the 8th to beat the Dodgers 10-9 at Citizens Bank Park. Once again, owning Jonathan Broxton. Then in 2013, Cody Ashley hit a 3-run homer. Cole Hamels pitched a complete game, striking out 9, giving up 1 run as the Phillies beat the Braves 5-1 down in Atlanta. For Charlie Manuel, it was win number 1,000 of his career. He became the 59th manager in Major League Baseball history to win 59 games. And then a little Flyers action. On this day in 2020, Jacob Voracek and Joel Farabee scored goals as Carter Hart made 27 saves. Flyers win Game 1 against the Canadiens in the Eastern Conference first-round playoff. If you remember, it was in the bubble. The Eastern Conference was in Toronto. Western Conference was in Edmonton. Flyers had the number 1 seed. And they go up 1-0 on the Canadians on this day in 2020. Charlie Manuel wins his 1,000th game as a manager on this day in 2013. Phils come from behind to beat the Dodgers 10-9 after being down 9-2 in the 8th on this day in 2010. Shane Victorino gets a cup of beer poured on his head. I remember watching this game being like, what is wrong with these people? And then in 2006, Jimmy Rollins hits 2 home runs from each side of the plate, but the Phils lose to the Reds 9-7. Lots of notes today. 1991, Dennis Martinez and Terry Mulholland both pitched complete games as the Phillies beat the Expos 2-1 to win their 13th straight game at the Vet. The streak would end the next day, tying a modern team record. And then Juan Samuel had himself a day, hit a grand slam, double digits, everything. And I would like to officially, once again, apologize to Juan. My bad, dude. My bad. Don't forget the trivia question. All-time single season home run leader at each infield position and catcher for the Phillies. And the question of the day, it's back. Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. Do the Eagles win Super Bowl 59 if they drafted Justin Jefferson over Jalen Reagor? And you got to think about it with the dominoes, because the dominoes are going to be different if they go Jefferson over Reagor. I got to say, I'm not so sure they do because of the way everything played out. Like I said, the wrong move sometimes is the right choice. But give me your thoughts on that. Anything else Philly sports related? Let's have some fun here on a hump day. Hopefully, fingers crossed, the Phillies are able to salvage this series in St. Louis and then head out to, I guess they're going to Iowa first and then to Minnesota for the Field of Dream game, which is going to be cool. But, man, somehow I have a feeling this bullpen is going to have some balls lost in the corn. Yikes. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for August 12th, 2026. My name's Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a hump day. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.